Hello, and welcome to the Creative Control Room Podcast pre-show. This is a part of the show you won't see or hear in the audio version. This is part of the show where we go around and make sure that all systems are go, from audio to lighting, levels, making sure we're live streaming where we need to be. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to go around. It is Sunday, September 26th. Let's pull up the Twitters and the Facebooks. Make sure we're up and running there. Nice. I found out that I guess Periscope is going away. So now it's just Twitter now. I guess that's how that's working. According to Restream anyway. So we are live on Twitter currently. We are live on the Facebooks. Fantastic. Live on YouTube, of course. And then Twitch should be coming in hot pretty soon. Let's see. Might as well head over there and check and see what's going on Twitch. Boom. Nope. Let's see. Stream manager. Okay, cool. We're live there as well. Fantastic. Okay, check cameras now. We got camera 3 already on. Camera 2 looking okay. Actually, is this? Let me check and see if it's level. I just had to reattach this camera because I traveled with it recently. And I haven't had a chance to really... Okay, that should be fine. And then, of course, camera 1 over here. All right, I think that's good. So that's good. We got audio looking good. All of our lighting is on. We are recording on the Rodecaster. We are recording through OBS. Let's see. No dropped frames. Everything looks good there. Fantastic. What else? What else we got? Are things potted up over here? Cameras are on. I think we're pretty good to go. Got a fun one today. I'm looking forward to this one. I get to kind of mix two subjects that I'm a fan of. So might as well just go ahead and get into this. Quick little clear of the throat, a little wet of the whistle, and let's get into this, shall we? Oh, hold on. I got to get something. Okay. This is going to be handy for today's presentation. All right. Episode number 94. Is this 90? Yeah, it's 94. All right, here we go. Hello, and welcome to episode number 94 of the Creative Control Room Podcast, a show for creators, makers, and doers, where my goal is to help you make to the max. I'm your operator, Ryan Hafey, and in this episode, I'm going to tell you about 7 different strength training exercises that will make you a stronger videographer and photographer. Let's roll that unofficial intro, shall we? Whoops. Gets worse every time. Hey. Welcome to the Creative Control Room Podcast for Sunday, September the 26th. Oh, man. Thanks for being here. If you are new here, if this is your first time in the Creative Control Room, this is a show for creators, makers, and doers. Like I said, this is my creative space. This is where I do all my creative work, and this podcast is where I kind of share some of the different projects that I happen to be working on, but also where I share any knowledge that I've accumulated over the years in the areas of video, photography, FPV drones, podcasting, live streaming, content creation, all that kind of stuff. So if any of that would interest you, it would be fantastic if you would hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be, watching or listening, and follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to swing by after the show and ask me a question or just say hello. So here we are. And let's start right off at the top with some updates from this past week. So this week was another busy week on the calendar. Just got back on Friday from another training camp visit with a fighter. Again, if you're new here, I work in boxing, sport of boxing by day. So it was a really great trip. It was a lot of fun. And one of the things that I brought with me on this trip. So typically, when I go out on these training camp visits, I'll bring just a lot of my gear. I'll bring my, cameras and lighting and tripods and things like that so that I can capture training footage, get some interview stuff, plenty of photos, all that type of stuff. So for this trip, I brought something that I haven't brought before, which was my FPV drone. I've traveled with a drone before, like my Mavic 2 Pro, but I've never traveled with an FPV drone before until now. So I wanted to make sure that I did it correctly, because obviously I didn't want to have to get to security and have them take something, take my batteries or whatever it was. So I wanted to look into it a little bit, make sure I was doing it correctly. And I figured I would share that experience just for anyone else who may be doing the same in the future. So for me, what I found really was one thing you really need to make sure you're doing correctly is storing your batteries, and making sure that you can actually bring your batteries onto, whichever airline or, you happen to be flying on. So what I found is that, first of all, it differs from airline to airline, what kind of batteries you can bring or where you put them or how big the batteries are. For me, what I found, for most airlines, it seems like around, as long as your batteries are under 100 watt hours, which if you look on this here, let's see, you can kind of see it at the bottom there. Let me pull it back, where it says 22.94 WH. So these batteries are, right around 23 watt hours. Some batteries I found will have it right on there. I've got a couple that don't, but there's calculations you can do. I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to wattage and current and electrical whatever, but there's an easy calculation to figure it out if you need to. But so what I found is that if you want to travel with batteries like that, make sure that you keep them with you in your carry-on. Don't put them in your checked bag. So for me, I brought a total of 8 batteries that were fully charged, and I have this little, looks like a fabric lunchbox, I guess, but it's like a fireproof thing, zipper closed little thing that you keep your batteries in. So if they catch on fire, which they can, because these batteries are very high current and very volatile, just want to make sure there's a little protection there. But because in my case, these batteries were well under the 100 watt hour threshold, I was able to take essentially as many of these as I want. And the interesting thing is, normally when I travel, because I bring so much gear and accessories and cameras and, little tools and things like that, I would say 50 to 65% of the time my bag gets pulled and checked for something that trips off the people at TSA. Interestingly enough, I brought a bag full of these things in my carry-on, and going to and from, I didn't have any issues with security. So it worked out for me. And then as far as how I stored my drone, now I don't have a big storage, like FPV storage backpack or anything like that. I have a Peak Design sling bag in which I keep my goggles and my remote control, as well as some other tools and extra props and accessories that I packed into a checked bag. And that Peak Design sling bag it's a pretty sturdy bag, and it takes a little bit of pressure to compress it. It's not some flimsy JanSport backpack or anything like that. It's got some sturdiness to it. Luckily, the one thing that I was concerned about most was the sticks on my remote control possibly getting damaged, but everything seemed to work out. I just packed that in and wrapped it in some padding, some clothes inside my check bag. And then for the drone itself, I removed the props, I removed the GoPro, and then I put the frame in the box which it came, which, the box had a layer of foam and then 2 bumper layers and then another layer of foam, and the drone could sit right inside that. The box was cardboard, but it's a sturdy cardboard. And again, I wrapped that in some clothes, put it in my check bag with everything else, and everything survived the trips both to and from. So yeah, there you go. Just make sure the batteries that you have fit within the guidelines of the airline that you're traveling on. Keep those with you in your carry-on, your batteries, and then just make sure that you are storing your drone and your drone accessories well so that they don't, get crushed or broken during transit, especially if you're bringing them, in your checked bag. So there you go. That was my update for the week. Got some really cool footage. I did some like vehicle following on this trip with the drone, which is something I'd never done like in real life. I'd only done it in a sim, and I was a little nervous about it. But actually, a lot of the FPV drone racing that I've been doing in the simulator, I think it was super helpful with that. So that was a ton of fun. But so there's that, and we're gonna skip news this week because there really just wasn't much that came onto my radar as far as anything newsworthy. So we're going to skip right from updates into the main event to the main topic for this episode, which again is strength training for videographers and photographers. So why am I talking about this? Well, a couple of reasons. First thing, while I'm very interested in the world of content creation, another thing that I'm very interested in is fitness. So I do a lot of strength training. I pay attention to a lot of power lifters and bodybuilders, and I like to work out anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, and kind of push my limits. I do a lot of the squats and the deadlifts and all that type of stuff. And I got to thinking, like, as someone who does a lot of creative work myself, I do a lot of, I go to a lot of events carrying a camera around. I've been on production sets helping set up, grip work and things like that. And it requires a certain degree of strength and fitness in certain situations. So I thought, why not marry these two worlds that I enjoy a whole lot and give some tips for photographers and videographers or production, people out there to, these are basically exercises that you can do to kind of improve your performance and to make sure that you're not getting winded and make sure you're not injuring yourself or being exhausted at the end of every day, once you finish the job. Because if you think about it, when you're out with shooting a show, whether it's photography or video, how often, first of all, if you're holding a camera, the weight's always in the front, which could potentially be putting a lot of strain on your back. So you want to keep your back straight. Same thing, we might be hunched over a little bit like this. That can cause issues with your upper back and, maybe causing you to round your back a little bit. Maybe, again, if you work on a production team, you might be putting up, doing grip work and lifting heavy things and pushing equipment stands and things like that. So you need to have a degree of strength in order to accomplish those, especially if you do this a lot and especially for travel. That's another thing too. So these 7 exercises or exercise groups that I'm going to go over we're handpicked to kind of combat some of those scenarios that we deal with as photographers and videographers just in our daily work. So getting right into the first one, and I'm putting these in the same category, but squats and deadlifts. We're going to start broadly. Let's go with squats and deadlifts. Why squats and deadlifts is number one. These are compound movements that are going to work a wide variety of muscles in your body. They're obviously going to be working, if you do squats, it's going to be great for your legs and just lower body strength, but it's also going to be great for your core. So when you do squats, you have to, really make sure that you're maintaining your balance. You're not moving from side to side. You're staying slow and controlled, and that's really going to work the core muscles, so core and legs. And then when you incorporate in deadlifts, obviously, again, if you're someone who lifts a lot of heavy equipment and is constantly picking things up and moving things around, deadlifts are going to make that a little bit easier for you. Deadlifts strengthen the lower back, obviously, and also going to strengthen the legs. Deadlifts, because you're holding onto a bar, it's going to help with your grip strength, which can be beneficial as well. But it's also going to teach you proper body mechanics. If you start doing squats and you start doing them well and do them consistently and do them with good form, you're going to even unconsciously incorporate that into your work life, in that, if you're picking up a bunch of light stands, you're not going to reach out in front and injure your back. You're going to know how to properly lift things off of the ground to make sure that you minimize any possibilities for any sort of injury. You know what I mean? Let me close that. So definitely do some squats. Definitely do some deadlifts. Squats are also helpful too if, again, if you're out on a production, or maybe if you're a photographer and you're trying to get low angles and things like that, just being able to squat down often and then be able to get back up quickly without, too much effort. Squatting is definitely going to be good for that. So number one, squats and deadlifts. Start doing them now. You will thank me later. Number two, this one is great if you happen to travel a lot. And if you're someone like me, I prefer to wear a backpack whenever possible, or to fit all of my gear in a backpack. So there are times, on this trip alone, my backpack probably weighed between 35 and 40 pounds. And I'm walking, through airports to my gate, and, from here to there, you by the time you're done traveling and getting to your destination, you've probably walked a couple miles at least. And you have to be able to do that with a giant backpack on your back. I just prefer backpacks. Some people like rollers better, for the simple fact that it's not putting a lot of pressure on your back. But if you're like me and you prefer a backpack, this exercise is great for this, and that is weighted walks. Meaning, get yourself a weighted vest. I have a weighted vest that I use that I like quite a bit, and it actually allows me, if you're already getting into squatting and deadlifting, you'll already have the weight plates, and this weighted vest actually allows you to attach weight plates to it, and you just put on and screw it on, and then it's attached to your body. But what I will often do is I'll put on my weighted vest, or you could even put on your gear backpack and then just go for a walk, or get on a treadmill where you can kind of have control over the speed and over the incline, and get on there and walk for 20, 30 minutes. And that's going to benefit you in a bunch of different ways. It's going to obviously improve your cardio. So, if you're walking with 30 pounds on your back, you're not going to get winded after a few minutes. But it's going to kind of prime your central nervous system as well, to sort of be prepared for that kind of weight. When you walk around and you're putting that kind of weight on your body, it helps for your body to sort of be aware of that stimulus and be prepared for it. So when you load up with all that gear, your body knows what to do, and it can kind of adapt to that situation. So weighted walks, try that. And then another one, which is kind of semi-related, and these are some of my favorites that I like to do, briefcase walks and farmer walks. So this is number 3. So briefcase walks are kind of what they sound like. If you imagine just someone walking down the road with a briefcase. So what briefcase walks are is you just pick a heavy weight, something that you can reasonably hold, and walk with in one hand in a straight line. So I'll pick, when I usually do it, I'll grab maybe like an 80-pound dumbbell, and the goal is to walk with that 80-pound or that dumbbell, whatever weight you choose, in one hand and maintain an upright posture for the entire time, and maybe take 50, 60 steps and then rest and then do it again. But what you'll find is that, if you're holding the weight on your left side, the ab and oblique muscles on the right side of your body are just going to fire like crazy because they have to compensate for all this weight that you have. So there's this sort of counteracting balance that's going on. And as a result, you're really going to strengthen those muscles. So, how often have you found yourself, you've got your Pelican case or you've got your gear bag, your backpack, whatever, you just need to pick it up and kind of move it to another location. Briefcase walks are going to make it easy for you to just kind of pick that up and not have to struggle with, whatever it may be. You can kind of pick things up and easily move them from one location to the other without having to worry about use two hands necessarily. But it's also going to prevent any muscle, pulling muscles, because those muscles are strengthened and they're going to prevent you from injury and like rotating in ways that you don't want. So that's briefcase walks, and farmer walks are essentially the same, with the exception of it's just weights in both hands. Or you could do, like a heavy weighted vest, increase the weight. The goal here is essentially just load your body with a bunch of weight. Again, really impacts the central nervous system and primes it for that type of stimulus. So again, if you're on a production set, how many times have you had to carry handfuls of just heavy weights? So being able to, training your body to be comfortable with carrying heavy weight is only going to translate that much better when you're actually in the field and doing work. So briefcase walks / farmer walks, putting that at number 3. Moving on to number 4, and I'm just going to generally say kettlebells here. There's so many different kettlebell exercises that you can do that, hang on, let me check. Where's my audio? There's my audio. There's so many different kettlebell exercises that you can do that would carry over into photography and videography and that type of thing. But like I mentioned earlier, when you're shooting, the weight is always in front of you. So what you really need is to be able to strengthen muscles that can kind of counteract that, and that can, because if you're just standing there with weight in the front all day, that's why women wear bras, because they need something to keep that weight high up on their front. Otherwise, it's going to create back problems, right? So it's kind of the same thing here. We want to make sure that we have, first of all, how you hold the camera is one thing, but we need to make sure that we're strengthening the muscles that are going to prevent us from injuring our back and hurting our back, because we're constantly, have this weight in the front of us. So things like goblet squats, which would be like taking a kettlebell and holding it close to your chest and then just squatting up and down. Those would be great. Kettlebell swings, it's just kind of, you can do them single arm or with two hands, and you kind of come up and then down and then back up and back down. Another is, and you can get creative with it. You can do something. It's kind of hard to show. Here, let's move to this angle here. So another is, you can get creative with it. Maybe hold a light kettlebell out in front of you, arms extended, and do squats in that direction. Lots of different options when it comes to kettlebells. But again, when you're using kettlebells, you are, in a way, kind of using weights that are similar to the types of things that you would be holding and carrying, especially if you've got a big old camera rig that you're working with. Try kettlebells, because they very closely resemble how you would handle in some circumstances different camera gear and things like that. So for number 4, kettlebells. Number 5, this one is face pulls. And by the way, these are in no particular order, so this isn't like an actual workout routine. We're just kind of going over the different exercises. But number 5 is face pulls or reverse flies. And this is also going to help prevent that upper back rounding and injuries to the upper back from having weight in front of you. So face pulls is essentially, this works best with cables and things like that. There are variations of this that you can do, or if you have like some straps that you can put attached to something and kind of pull yourself up to it. But you essentially grab and pull, elbows back, keep your elbows high, and then pull towards your face. And this is really going to strengthen the muscles in the upper back, again, preventing that rounding and preventing you from injuring yourself. Reverse flies do kind of the same type of deal with when it comes to strengthening the upper back. And in a lot of cases, you can, just be standing and bent over. So it would look more like this. Or you could be lying on your stomach and pulling weights up towards you in kind of that same face pull type motion, or flying out like this. But again, it's all designed to strengthen the muscles of the upper back and prevent rounding and injury. So number 5, face pulls or reverse flies. Number 6, I would say any kind of overhead press. It could be a barbell overhead press. It could be dumbbells, dumbbell overhead press, or even like a circus press with single dumbbells. But again, how often have you been on a production set, or even if you're trying to hold a camera up high so that you can get some angles from up high, you need some shoulder strength, and having stronger shoulders will only make that easier. So overhead press, I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Just how much weight can you put over your head? Really strengthens the shoulders, and it's going to help you with that. So that's number 6. And then finally, my final exercise suggestion would be sled pushes or incline bench press. And those two things sound very different, and they are in some ways. But so sled pushes would be, and I have a home gym, but I don't have a sled. So I don't do this one, but I do incline bench press, which is the other one. But sled pushes is basically kind of what it sounds like. You have a sled that you would load up with weight, and then you would kind of get down low, put your arms out, and you would use your legs to push the sled across a distance, whatever that distance may be. And can be beneficial, again, especially with travel, especially with working on production sets. Those big equipment tables that you load up and you got to move from here to there, and you're always kind of pushing things around and moving things. This is going to strengthen the legs. But it also, pushing things around also requires some chest strength, because you have to kind of brace that, whether you're pushing from here or whether you're pushing from out here. You want to make sure that you have the muscles in the chest there that can kind of help you, help keep everything stable. So that's why I also recommend sled pushes or incline bench press, because if you're also doing squats or deadlifts, you're already working on your legs. So the leg strength is going to be there. But incline bench press, and we're incline, regular bench press is fine, but for this, we really want to focus on incline bench press. Reason being, think of it like this. If you play football, and if I remember correctly, I think incline bench press started being incorporated in football because of how football players line up on the line. So it's like, when they hike the ball and you're going to push up against people, you're not pushing directly out like this up against your opponent. You're leaned forward, and you're pushing them against them like this, which more closely resembles the incline bench press position over just the traditional bench press. So again, if you're out pushing a heavy cart around, you're going to be leaned forward a little bit, and your arms, as you push that, whether they're down here pushing or whether they're out here pushing, are going to be in that more inclined bench press position, because nobody walks around pushing things straight up unless it's something super light. You're going to be leaned forward, you're going to be pushing into it, and you want to have that stability in your chest to make sure that you've got the force to push it and the strength to push it. So sled pushes or incline bench press. So let's go over all those again one more time, just to make sure you got them down. Get out a pen and piece of paper, write all this stuff down here. So number 1, we got squats and deadlifts. Self-explanatory, great for the legs, great for the core. Number 2, weighted walks. Great if you travel, and just kind of, it primes the central nervous system to be ready for that stimulus and all that weight that you put on yourself as you're walking around with big backpacks or whatever it may be. Briefcase walks, farmer walks. These are awesome if you carry around a lot of Pelican cases or handle things on one side, or just, if you're like me trying to bring in groceries and you're trying to carry as much gear as humanly possible in one trip, those would be great for that. Kettlebells, awesome for kind of building the muscles that help prime the core and make sure, again, that you're not rounding as you hold all that weight at the front of your body. Face pulls, reverse flies, they do kind of similar things in that they strengthen the muscles in the upper back. It's going to prevent any of that rounding and prevent you from pulling any muscles and preventing injury. 6, overhead press, whether that be barbell, dumbbells, or circus press. Just going to strengthen the shoulders. So anytime you need to hold a camera up high, or maybe you need to, you're putting up some gear and things like that, yeah, you're going to have the strength in your shoulders to be able to do that effectively. And finally, sled pushes or incline bench press. This is helpful if you find yourself in a position where you're pushing heavy things around a lot, whether it be on a production set or whatever it may be. So, again, like I said, I'm big into fitness. I encourage everyone to take care of themselves and do these things now to prevent yourself from getting into trouble later on. Strength training really, yeah, you can get big and strong. You can look good if you do it right. But ultimately, strength training is about injury prevention. You're building this structure that's going to keep your body safe and going to keep you from pulling muscles and things like that. So it's about injury prevention. So if I suggest that everyone tries to get into some kind of workout routine, and you want to train for what you do. So that's why I think these are so important if you're in this field and you're doing this kind of work, because if that's how you spend most of your time, you should be doing exercises that are going to allow you to do those things easier. Just in the same way that, a boxer is going to do a lot of cardio work and a lot of core work. Everyone is going to train differently depending on how they incorporate that training into their life and into their work or whatever it may be. So it's always a good idea to take care of yourself. So please take care of yourself. But if you found any value in that, and I hope you did, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening. And also follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. So thank you so much for being here. And keep on creating, making, and doing. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.